We got this story from the Post Millennial. Zohran Mamdani, you know him, you love him, applauds personal NYPD detail despite past calls to defund the police. I call this the epitome of snake oil. This guy's got more than enough clips of him talking about defunding the police. One in particular where he says replace it with something that actually keeps people safe. Then you get this shooting, and he's trying to play this game where he's effectively doubling down while trying to act like he doesn't want to defund the police. Postman says New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani is facing criticism after defending his use of a personal NYPD detail despite his long-standing public calls to defund the police. Mamdani addressed the issue at a recent press conference and asked about his recent trip to Uganda, where he held a multi-day wedding celebration at a family-owned compound surrounded by armed security. The event drew backlash from critics who said his actions contradict the policies he advocates for. The socialist candidate defended his personal security measures due to threats he's received during the campaign. Quote, they are also precautions that I'm immensely grateful for, especially in the example of the NYPD detail that I have here in New York City. Mamdani has previously called for abolishing law enforcement agencies and banning all firearms in the United States.
Yeah. After the attack yesterday, he came out and was like, "Oh, we have to ban, assault rifles and whatnot," which is, I mean, it's typical for someone that's of that ideological makeup. They want to have the ability to have their own security, but they don't want you to be able to protect yourself. Yeah. And
one of the main reasons is if you look at the historic examples, if a government exists long enough, it will go off the rails. And I myself don't want to be without any way of defending myself and then put in a camp or worse. That's just me. And the assault rifle thing, those are very dangerous. They're meant to be dangerous. But here's something that's even worse. If you know what you're doing and you have a bolt action and a scope, you can do all kinds of damage.
This is what look in Maryland. Have you ever where are you based out of?
Michigan, just outside Detroit.
Maryland, I was told by local gun shop, is called one of the evil seven. These 7 states that are evil. Maryland has a list of assault weapons that are banned, and it's random and nonsensical. So you don't know the criteria because there isn't one. There are some criteria like a 4-grip plus something equals assault rifle. However, they also have a list of just weapons they've deemed to be assault weapons. So you have to go to the website and look up the gun you have to make sure it's not an assault weapon. So an M1A, for instance, is an assault weapon, but a SCAR 20S is not.
That's insane.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So what we often see, and I'm not a big gun guy, okay? But every gun person knows that if a crazy person has a fully automatic weapon, an actual assault rifle, it's bad, but they spray and they miss. When you make it so they have to have semi-auto, they aim and they hit.
Well, in all of the my travels in the military, I've never been a fan of the full auto rifle. I've only fired my full auto rifle one time. Other than that, it was all semi-auto, 2-3 rounds per target. That was it. In 33 years, I fired 7 magazines. That's it.
I suppose the fear would be if this crazy guy had a drum or a belt going around his back or something. But
yeah, I would like to know what happened at the Vegas shooting because I do not fall in love.
I'm going to tell you right now. He was a Marxist, woke activist, and he was doing it for racial justice. And the reason I'm saying that is because whenever they withhold information, that tends to be the political leaning of the individual. So I'm just going to go. People are like, he was a gun runner. I'm like, I'm going to go with communist.
I mean, I don't know what
anti-white activist.
I don't know what his political ideology was or whatever, but I know that dragging all that ammo and all those guns up that many up to the whatever floor it was, that is not a small job. That's a lot of crap.
Does a bellhop help him out?
This is going to really twist your noodle right here. If you listen to the audio, there's 2 different machine guns going off.
Yeah.
There's a 30 caliber.
Yep.
And there's a 5.56.
Yep.
If you've been in a firefight one time in your life, you will understand what those sounds are. And when I heard the audio, I'm like, that's a 30 caliber machine gun. And then you hear the 5.56. I'm like,
there are people that say people that think he had a 240 up there, and that there was a 240 and a saw. So
what if it was
the cyclical rate?
What if there's more than one person?
In all seriousness, what if it was a guy was doing some kind of fast and furious gun running, like we saw with the Obama administration, and they're doing it in Vegas because they're not too far from the border. I mean, but, you know,
You can get away with a lot in Vegas.
Right. And what if he's doing this deal, they find out he's intel, and it's a con, and a firefight breaks out?
Yeah, that is a good theory. But when you...
So how do you explain... I'll put it this way. What is the logic behind two different weapons unloading on this concert?
Multiple participants.
With an ideological bend?
I'm not sure, but whenever you have people hosing into a crowd with automatic weapons, it's done for a specific purpose.
Could it be that there was something like it was an Islamic terror attack and they blamed this guy to cover up what happened?
It could be. What I want to see is I want the information released to the public, because shortly after it happened, it was, you know, swept under the rug, and a lot of people got whacked.
Yeah.
And they're still, I mean, look, we got the Trump admin in there, and they're supposed to be exposing this stuff. They're not doing it.
Yeah, I find that pretty upsetting.
Frustrating.
But do you think there's a possibility that the release of, this is the challenge, right? Do you trust the government?
No.
Indeed. So the challenge is, does it get better than Cash and Dan, right? I mean, these are the guys that we were hoping for, but there's going to be there's going to be two factors: personal interest or national security. They will always claim national security,
Yes.
but it is very often personal interest. So let's say this guy was doing illicit gun running for an illegal outfit connected to deep state corruption or something. They ain't never going to tell you because they don't want their crimes exposed. There is a possibility that whatever actually happened, the release of the information could threaten national security. It's hard to get the logic in that direction because
They
of
always
what the
fall
story
back
is.
on national security.
Right.
Just go like, well, it's national security. We're not going to answer those questions. So, pound sand.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't get away with it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't see how a national security argument would work when it comes to Vegas, at least, though. You know, I mean,
Well, listen. The government has lawyers who weave lies within lies and then wash it down with a thin little veil of truth. So they can get the suppository up your backside.
if they can figure out a way to tell you that it's okay for the police to seize your property, seize cash, and then they're not going to have the actual court case be against you. It's going to be the police versus the cash, or that because you're growing weed on your own property to feed to your own animals, that affects interstate commerce, so the government can regulate that. If those are the kind of decisions that they're going to make, then they can justify anything.
Well, you're absolutely correct.
Vegas was like what bump stocks got banned like 2 weeks after Vegas.
Yeah, it made no sense. They claimed he had a bump stock.
Yeah.
Did it sound like a bump?
No.
Yeah.
No, a bump stock is, if you fire the bump stock, yes, you will get bursts, but you're not really going to be able to burn
It was
through
sustained.
150 rounds.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sorry, you're going to have breaks in there. That had to have been a belt-fed machine gun, in my opinion.
Interesting.
And bump stocks, like, you don't need to have a bump stock to do that. If you have a belt loop, you can do the same thing that a bump stock does.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can just use your hand.
Probably, yeah. It takes.
I watched a YouTube video where people who practice can bump fire just using their arm.
Yeah.
You're not going to get 150 rounds off.
You're not.
Yeah.
No.
What is it like? You basically I'm not going to describe it just for the sake of what we're talking about. I won't describe how it's done, but some people just do it by holding the weapon, and the belt loop is a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is, you're going to see a lot more of this because, communists, if you historically look, the first thing they do is they disarm the population.
Yep.
They take the means of production. And if that's not producing enough to feed everyone, too bad. If you say anything, you're going in a pit.
Yeah, this is going to be detrimental for New York because I have a good friend who's NYPD. He's an officer. I can't say which state, but a Sunbelt state has proposed an offer to him and his buddies.
Yes.
And he's saying if Zohran wins, which is likely at this point, he'll be on the first Monday after he gets elected. He'll be starting down there. Disaster. I mean, those jobs are really what makes New York magic. Is these firefighters and policemen
And let's face it,
sanitation.
socialism is the welcome mat for communism.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are virtually identical.
Well, and Zohran has this weird strain where it's not even like Bernie Marxism, where it's like this is like resentful Marxism, where he comes from the third world. He kind of has this chip on his shoulder about it, and New York is kind of the pinnacle of Western civilization in a lot of ways. So there's just this vindictiveness that he carries with him, where he just totally has an axe to grind with Western civilization, and that was bigger than Marxism or anything.
If this was my show, I would have already drank 3 beers by now. Because I'm getting spun up just looking at this guy.
I mean, that's the same playbook that Ilhan Omar had as well, which is a hatred for the West, despite the fact that the West took you in.
She has no actual ideology. It's just hatred and vindictiveness, mostly against like white Americans specifically.
Yeah. That's a lot of what motivates the left, and specifically communists is they don't. It's not that they want to help people that are poor or whatever. It's that they want to hurt people that are not poor.
Yeah.
And if you have a mayor like Mamdani, right? If he gets into office and he actually can implement his policies, you can expect the city tax rate to go up. You can expect property to be taken from people that don't follow whatever kind of rules he comes up with, and that's going to run people out of New York City. New York City being the financial
in mass.
Yeah, they are.
That in California.
Yeah, but like New York City is the financial capital of the world right now. Yeah. And you will see a lot of those people saying, we can go ahead and do our business in Miami. We can do it in Houston. We can do it in other places. We don't have to be in New York City.
Absolutely correct. That doesn't need to happen anymore.
But it's also like one of those things that some people are like, well, just let it burn. It's like, it's not a good sign for your country if your major city that really represents you on the world stage is falling apart. It's like you can't really cede ground like this. I mean, if it's like Chicago, no offense, but it's like, okay, we can try socialism, we can see what, because it's Chicago, right? Like, but you can't do that in New York. We're cooked if New York falls. I mean, that's the country.
I don't think New York would fall.
They're just 10 years ahead of us. That's all
If
it
New
is.
York, does a dirt dart, it could really set the example for the rest of the country of what not to do.
But we already know what not to do.
Did you see what's going on in California? The federal prosecutor can't get indictments from grand juries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because the grand juries are commies. So the people who live in L.A. are being presented with. So you've got one guy was accused of assaulting an officer. Normally, this is an easy grand jury. You can indict a ham sandwich. We're not talking about beyond a reasonable doubt. And the grand juries are saying no, which is extremely rare. And it seems like what's happening is the culture in Los Angeles is ice bad. So when you go before a group of Los Angeles residents and say, this guy assaulted ICE agents, they go, oh, great. Where do we give him his medal? And then you're like, no, we want to prosecute him. Like, well, we're not doing that. No indictment. And they just vote no. That's a breakdown.
Yes, it is.
It's like the opposite of what it used to be, which is like a cop could do the most awful thing in the world and then be like, well, we're not prosecuting him.
Yeah.
I look, this is exactly what we've been talking about for some time. I've been saying this. What happens when people just argue the law? That nobody agrees on what the law is. The left is putting out these arguments that ICE is abducting people. One of the ladies who was apparently charged with assaulting an officer claimed that she thought she was being abducted by strangers. It's like we know you're lying. You know these guys are ICE. Okay.
Well, also, with Marxist language doesn't mean anything other than something that they can. I was literally like yelling about this on PCC earlier. Is that they manipulate and obfuscate language to try and kind of move everything to their ends, and no language, no word that is actually supposed to mean something carries the same meaning to you as it does to them. You're not speaking the same language.
Marxists share our dictionary, but they don't. Yeah. We share a vocabulary, but we don't share the dictionary.
They changed the definitions.
But let's clarify this. They know what you mean. They are lying to you to trick you into doing the wrong thing.
I mean, gaslighting.
Well, gaslighting refers to like changing the past. So it's not necessarily gaslighting. It's more of tricking you into making assumptions.
Yeah.
So, saying racist, then when you challenge them, they say, no, I mean power plus prejudice. And it's like, oh, that's a different thing. You caught me, but I'll change the definition to justify what I'm saying. So they can say the word, when they say racist to you, they know what that means and what you think it means. If you then challenge them, telling them they're wrong and lying, you say, no, it's because I'm using the academic definition. And so it's a way to layer their lying.
Yeah. It's it's the way to use postmodernism, because postmodernists don't believe that words have meaning other than the ability to use the words to achieve power.
Along with the fascists, they also believe the same thing.
Fascists are frequently
There is no
postmodern
truth
as
but
well.
power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. That's why there are specific definitions that are quote unquote academic, and they'll use them interchangeably in the same argument, right? You'll be talking to them and they'll say, well, that's racist. And you'll say, well, or they'll say, you're racist. You'll say, oh, I'm not racist. And they'll say, well, blah, 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 power plus prejudice, et cetera, et cetera. And then so they can't be racist. But when it comes to, later on in the argument, they'll use racist in the same way that it's just prejudice against a group.
You know how I shut that down? I literally
talk to
go,
him.
yeah, absolutely correct. I'm an istophobe igotist. Say whatever you got to say.
Yep.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.